It's a picture that hints it is a warm summer's day. It shows boys swimming, but they appear as abstract shapes. The subject matter can be identified, but there is also a naive style in how the image is created. That naivety feeds into a sense of nostalgia, and it gives the image an emotional depth. This print is by Edvard Munch, and it's in the collection of the Art Institute of Chicago. Munch is mainly known for the Scream, which is an image that has become embedded into popular culture. There are a few different versions. This one can be found in the National Museum of Norway. Munch created thousands of pieces of artwork, but this one image is what has defined his legacy. When an artist has a piece of artwork reach massive global attention, there is always a danger that an audience will see them only in that context. Munch expresses his feelings in his art, and these images are often filled with anxiety. However, when I look at a picture like boys bathing, I can see that it isn't the only thing that is present in his artwork. Munch used his art as a form of therapy, and that's always going to make it darker. It makes it more likely that it will contain his anxiety, his sadness, and his fear. When I look at this picture, it can seem difficult to see it as coming from the same artist. It makes me smile when I look at it because it reminds me that life is complicated and no life features only anxiety and sorrow. The human experience is an array of different things. Sometimes you feel like you want to scream, and on other days you feel like you're bathing in a cool pool on a warm summer's day. This image seems even more joyful when you compare it to the Scream. The same is true for the emotions that it depicts. Your moments of happiness always seem more profound because of the sorrows that you've faced. This is one of my favourite images by Munch because when I compare it with the Scream, it teaches me a lot about the human experience. Munch is a man whose emotions are always on the surface. I'm going to use this piece of artwork as a starting point for my own. When I look at this image, the composition isn't the main thing that interests me. I'm going to create artwork on a canvas that is a completely different shape. I'm not creating a copy. I'm allowing myself to be inspired by a brilliant piece of artwork. In the image by Munch, I love the shape of this swimmer on the left. This is the part of the image that I'm going to use as my starting point. I've created a version of that part of the image, and out of context, this shape could represent many different things. It doesn't have to remain as a swimmer. I can make minor changes to turn it into an interesting shape that doesn't reference what it once was. I want to repeat this shape, so I need to make sure I'm happy with it before moving forward to the next stage. If this symbol will be the foundation for the piece of artwork that I'm going to create, it needs to be simplistic yet interesting. Simplicity is necessary because repetition automatically adds complexity. At this stage, I'm happy with the abstract shape. Now I can use one of the most important tools of abstraction, repetition. I've decided on a canvas shape that is different from the original print. However, I've still retained some aspects of the original composition. The original shape was angled towards the upper right corner of the image, and I'm continuing with that design. The shape of the canvas already gives you some horizontal and vertical lines, so adding a strong diagonal aspect to the composition will make it seem more interesting, and it's an effective way to balance the composition. Let's add some colour. I've begun with purple. There isn't any purple in the image by Edvard Munch, but I'm only using one aspect of the image as a starting point. It's good to notice the difference when you're creating a piece like this, because it gives you the opportunity to learn more about the original image. In some ways, it's a process of creative study. The image is mainly cool because of the colours that I've chosen. I could keep the image all cool colours if I wanted to have a particular feel and portray a particular emotion, but I want the image to have a broader array of colours, and that means balancing those cool colours with some warm colours. I've now added some orange and yellow, and the balance between warm and cold colours creates a greater impact. Even though it's more striking, the image seems flat because it needs more variation in light and shade. That added sense of depth is an improvement. The position of those white shapes also adds a curve to the basic composition. Let's take a moment to look at the basic composition before we continue creating this piece of artwork. When I mark out the basic positions of the shapes on the canvas, you can see that the image has a basic structure. It's a curved line that is almost diagonal in one direction and then many diagonal lines travelling in the other direction. Let's take away all the detail for a moment and just look at the basic structure of the artwork. The structure is basic, but it's balanced. It doesn't pull more in one direction as opposed to the other. A line in one direction is balanced by a line travelling in the other direction. This is one way of creating a balanced composition within a piece of artwork. Let's carry on creating this image. The main colour palette has been decided, but that doesn't mean that I can't add some more subtle uses of colour. A dash of pink. A small amount of red in the bottom left-hand corner, and a very dark green in the top right-hand corner. Red and green are complementary colours, so they balance each other on the canvas, and they are also balanced because of where they are positioned. They are both in two opposing corners of the canvas. That green is dark, so I want a little more light on the canvas, so I'm balancing the amount of light and shade. What I've created is an image that is inspired by Edvard Munch. It doesn't mimic his style or artistic practice because there's already an Edvard Munch. There's no need to create another one. And each artist must express what is unique to them, what only they can give. There are many differences between the two pieces of artwork. You can see the common thread that unites them, but each has its own feel and personality. You can see that Munch is a source of inspiration, influencing my own artistic practice. There are many things to learn from the artwork of Edvard Munch, and it's always a pleasure to be inspired by his artistic practice.